Okay. Hi, I'm Amir Sani with Guild Mortgage. It is 1 minute to 2, and at 2 o'clock we're going to start talking about 2019 business plans. For those in the room, who's worked off a business plan in the past? 2. Good. Was it a written business plan? What did that business plan look like for you?
It was for, I was in the pet industry, it was to grow my sales for that year,
Okay.
etc.
So in your past world, you use business plans.
Yes.
Great. And sir, you raise your hand.
Yeah, goals and objectives.
Goals and objectives.
Normal stuff.
Do you write a business plan?
Well, I write, as defined by a business plan. I don't know.
Okay.
I write stuff down so that I can interpret it.
Okay. So I, every year, have used a business plan, and why I do that is it gives me something to go back to and look at. But it has to be a written business plan, something that I can see. And then I wanted to make sure that I talked about something that I think is really important, which is making sure that when we put together a plan, we put together a plan that has a certain type of goal, right? And what I mean by that is when we put goals and what we want to do down, are we doing them with the idea of a SMART goal, right? And a SMART goal, everything's an acronym. SMART stands for a specific type of goal that we can measure, right? And that has some type of actionable or an action that we can take, right? And if that's the case, then that action is relevant to our business, and that there's a time that we say that we're going to do our goal in. Does that make sense? Right? So then, for me, my goals every year are, I want to sell X amount of houses by the end of the year. I want to lose an X amount of pounds by X date. Because if there's not a destination time, right, an end goal, when do we hit our goal? When do we have to have a finish line, right? And so for me, my 12-19 business plan ends on the last day of 2019. And to Kelly's point, in the mastermind, she said it starts today. It starts in September when we start planning out our business for 2019. Because then we get 3 months head start, right? We got October, November, and December. And if we get that head start, don't we run into 2019 with momentum? No matter where we are right now, where we can end up by the beginning of 2019 starts now. And it starts by coming up with specific goals. So if I asked you, how many houses do you want to sell in 2019? Can you be specific? Anybody? Who's got a goal of how many houses you want to sell in 2019?
50.
Okay. So let's go by this, right? If we're going by a SMART goal, is 50 the goal that we want to set? Is that a specific goal?
It has to be more, doesn't it have to be more reasonable?
Here's the thing. I'm okay with 50 if you're okay with 50.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right? But 50 is averaging more than 4 transactions a month once a week. Right? And I'm going to ask, if you've never done that before, is it realistic to think that this year is going to be the year that everything else changes?
No.
And if it is, it better be in the plan. Right? So if it's not a unit, most of the time people know how much money they want to make. Do you guys know how much money you want to make? Can we reverse engineer from the money you want to make? A lot of times when I talk to people, what's the magic number that they want to make? $100,000. Anybody want to make $100,000 in the room? Anybody want to make more than $100,000 in the room? Is $100,000 a good baseline that we can work off of a business plan? Okay? So, I want to make $100,000 in GCI or net? See how these questions come up? Are we being specific? The more specific, the better, right? So, is that $100,000 in GCI or in net? Which one's easier?
GCI is easy.
Okay, GCI. Do you know your expenses? Question.
Yeah.
Right? Because then could we, based on a GCI and knowing what our expenses are, will we know how much money we're making?
Right.
So if we want to make a net of 100. If we knew our expenses were $30,000, our GCI would need to be what? 130, right? So we just back out those expenses. So let's just, for the case of our business plan, use round numbers, because then that makes me look smart. All right, so $100,000 in GCI, right? What's your average commission? What's your average sales price? The average for Phoenix is about 250. Right? I'm going to go with, again, round numbers. Makes me look smart. All right? So if it's 250 is the average sales price, and I'm getting a 3% commission on that, isn't that $7,500 per? Right? And let's just be realistic, right? Like, what if that was actually 2%? If we backed out all our expenses and all of that, wouldn't that be $5,000 per? And if it was $5,000 per, and we wanted to do $100,000, wouldn't we have to do 20? So we got to a specific unit goal based on how much money we want to make. Could this be any number based on whatever number you want to make? If it was $1 million, couldn't we back it out and figure out how many we have to do? If it was $1 million, wouldn't we just have to do 200? Provided their expenses stay the same, which never happens, right? So let's just use this as, if my goal is I'm going to sell or help X amount of families, and by doing so, I will make Y, right? So if I help 20 families buy $250,000 houses, won't I make $100,000 GCI by the end of the year? Simple, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so where's that eraser? Right? So my specific goal then is that I will help 20 buy or sell homes by 12/31 of 19. Correct? Is that specific? Is that measurable? Is that actionable? Is that relevant? Is that time bound? Okay. Cool. So if I'm going to do that, is it fair to say that I work with buyers and sellers? Do you have a radar for buyers and sellers, or just buyers or just sellers? Both, right? We don't know what they want to do until they want to tell us what they're going to do, right? And most buyers in today's market, they're either first-time home buyers or they have a home to sell, right? Or they're coming back in the market, or whatever the case might be, right? So if that's the case, would it be fair for me to plan out my business to work with 10 buyers and 10 sellers? Could I do that? To get my 20 buyers and sellers? If I did that, what's the first source of your business? Where do you get most of your business, guys? If you've been in the business, who's been in the business for 5 years or more?
Referrals and past clients.
Referrals and past clients, right? So typically, what I call that is my sphere of influence, my database, my past clients, my referrals. They're all the same thing, aren't they? They're the people that know you, that like you, that trust you, that will send you referrals, that would want to do business with you to begin with, right? Okay. So outside of that, what's your second source of business? What does my home group have a lot of?
Open houses.
Open houses, meaning that they have a lot of listings, right? Are open houses a great way to find potential buyers and sellers? Say yes.
It is.
Right? There's no better way. Like, other than an open house, how do you identify when someone's looking to buy or sell?
They walk up and tell you.
Prospecting.
Where is the one place that they always walk up and tell you?
Open house.
Open house. Right? It's the one thing that we actually do, is that we hold our product open. Right? Do people ever walk onto a car lot if they're not interested in their car?
Sure.
Right? You name me the time where you walk up into a car lot and say, I was just here just looking at cars for no reason.
They have the popcorn. They go with the popcorn.
No, nobody goes to the car lot for the popcorn or the cookie. Nobody goes to the open house with the cookie or the treat or the leave behind, right? It's not about that. They're only there on Saturday and Sunday. Do you agree that people have better things to do than to go to open houses and waste your time?
No, some people don't.
They're nosy neighbors. You know, they're neighbors. that wanna-
Okay, if they're looky-loos that come to your open house, isn't it fair to think that they talk to everybody and know everything because they have nothing else to do?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if you could make them a raving fan of you? So the next time you see a looky-loo, I want you to hug him. And I want you to tell him, I'm so glad that you're here. Will you tell everybody else that I'm here? Because they know everybody. Right? So the second way that we do business is open houses. Now, is it fair to say that if I get my first source of business for buyers is my sphere of influence, my referrals, my past clients, people that know, like, and trust me, is it fair to say that that's also my number one source for sellers? Shouldn't it be? Okay. If my number one source for buyers and sellers is my database, ladies and gentlemen, when was the last time you spoke with your database?
Everyone? Every person?
How about just a sampling of your database? Right? And I say this, I am the guiltiest of this as a realtor, is that I would not communicate with my database effectively. Why? Because I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to seem like a salesperson. I didn't want to have commission breath, please buy something from me or please refer me to somebody that you know. Right?
Used car salesman.
Yes. So that comes from not understanding that we provide value. What's the number one value that we provide as realtors?
Marketing.
Market information, right? Whose specifically are you interested in?
My own.
My own,
Yeah.
right? So of your database, how many of them go to Zillow to find out the value of their home versus you?
Probably a lot.
When we talk to them, what do they all say? Zillow tells me my house is worth what? You're like, damn it. Because now I have to reverse engineer and tell them that it's not. Right? Am I wrong?
No.
Okay. So if that's the case, if the number one source of business for buyers and sellers is your sphere, shouldn't we have a plan to communicate with our sphere effectively in 2019? Wouldn't that be a specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound plan? Would be to communicate to the people that already know, like, and trust us? Where do they live today? Where do all the people that you know live? No. Where do they live?
In your phone.
In your phone, right? We have this thing called contacts in our phone, correct? How many of your contacts own a house versus rent?
Majority.
How do you know?
How do I know? Like just from my
I've looked them up on
years
your
of
list.
thinking.
Hopefully they're not watching. Hopefully they're not watching this video. So my point is that unless we speak to our database, do we know exactly what they're doing? And what could we speak to them about? Could we let them all know that we're updating our 2019 real estate database? Could we do that?
Yeah.
What does that sound like to them?
Doesn't sound bad.
Does it sound like we run a business? That we care about them? Does it sound like commission breath?
No.
Hey, I'm calling you to update my real estate database and I thought about you, Maura. Right? Would that sound bad?
No.
Could I then ask to make sure that I had the right information for you? Obviously, I called you, so this is the best phone number for you. What's the best email address for you? Why would I want their email address?
Send a monthly update.
Send them a monthly update. What kind of a monthly update would you like to see in your email box from me, the realtor? What do you want to see?
In the area, what they're worth, close to my home.
Homes in the area and what they're worth, right?
Yeah.
So, what's the easiest way for me to go pull that information?
MLS.
MLS. There is a guy named the Michael Orr. Do you know who that guy is? I don't work for him. I make no money off of this, but he publishes this thing called the Cromford Report every month. It's a snapshot about what's going on in our market. Imagine if you read it. Wouldn't you find it of value?
Yeah.
Because what do? We work in this market, right? Would we know the appreciation of different cities? Would we know how many houses are selling in different areas? Would we know the economic update from somebody that's doing it every day? Could we then be the provider of that information to somebody else? And then could we answer any questions that they have related to their real estate related needs every month? Could I also go to the MLS and just pull the active pending and closed units for the area that my person lives in and send them a newsletter based on that?
Yeah.
Could I do one of the two? Shouldn't I do something like that? So, wouldn't it be fair to say that inside of my sphere of influence and my number one source of business, I should communicate with them with a newsletter every single month with something about real estate, not about what they're doing to change their air filters or their clocks or we don't do that here, but, right? Like, instead of all of the recipes that we send them for no reason, what is our job? Provide value.
Market.
Provide value, right? If we call them and ask them how they like the recipe, are we providing value? If we call them and ask them if they have any questions about what's going on in the market based on the home's value that they see on the newsletter, will they talk to us about that? Are we being professionals?
Yes.
Are we running our business? Are we communicating things that they are relevant and time bound to them, specific and actionable? I just want to keep going to these, right? Is that when we build a business plan, if we do it off of SMART goals, instead of just pie in the sky, I want to do 50 units, no offense, right? Is that if I just throw a number out there, but if I actually purposefully run a business based on what I want to get to. And so that's really where that newsletter from my sphere of influence gives me a reason to call them once a month. Now, if I actually were to call my database, all of them, now, and say I'm updating my database for 2019, and I wanted to make sure I had the best email for them so I could send them a newsletter, would that be okay? After I did that, could I ask them for their mailing address? Would it be okay for me to ask you for your mailing address? Yes, right? I'm calling my database. I'm calling people that are in my phone that know me, like me, trust me. They're my sphere of influence or my past clients. They're going to give me their address, right? When I get their address, can I ask them how long they live there?
These are past clients?
Yeah, or not past clients, or people that you know.
Like family.
Everybody in your phone. Your past clients, you're going to know how long they live there. And if you don't, you're going to say, hey, silly me, I forgot. When did I sell you this house? Seriously, wouldn't that be like, is that the worst thing you could say? My bad, I haven't kept track. Right? Thank God we have things like brokers and SkySlope and things like that we can go back and find those transactional history. Right? But the point is that I want to make sure that I ask them when I'm updating my database for their address. When I ask them for their address, I can then say, would it be all right? Have you gotten a recent CMA, a valuation of what your home is worth from a realtor? What is most people's answer? No. Why is that most people's answer? Where do they go to get the valuation of their home? Zillow. Why?
It's easy and it's
And we stopped doing it.
well.
And we stopped doing it.
They don't have to let anybody know they're looking.
Right? So,
Exactly.
so if I'm doing it, if I'm reaching out to you 4 times a year because I know your address and I'm giving you a valuation of your home, you know who does that for me right now? Zillow and Redfin. In my email box every quarter, I get a valuation from Zillow and Redfin of what my home is worth. They're both completely wrong. But who sends them to me? Now, I'm a realtor. I'm in the market. I understand that they're wrong. What do most people see?
They think they're right.
They think they're right.
They think it-
They don't
I,
want to.
I literally once got a call from a loan officer from a loan servicing company prior to me switching my loan over to Guild. We're a direct servicer, so my loan officer service, or our company services our own loans. But my old loan was done through another company prior to me coming to Guild. I would get phone calls all the time from loan servicing reps that would say, would you like to refi? One time I'm like, well, tell me what my house is worth. They're like, $570. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody online or anybody else that wants to pay me $570,000, screw it. I'll give you $70,000 off. $500,000 for my house. Sold tomorrow with all the furniture. Right?
Yeah.
Meaning that is, I go, where did you get the value of 570? They said Zillow.
It was so bad.
And or the client that keeps telling you about a house that's for sale.
On Zillow.
It's not, it's been sold a month ago.
Well, the reason why they're on Zillow is they went on Zillow, they found out the value of their home. Based on the value of their home, they went shopping. Prior to ever selling their house, they're shopping already. Why? Because isn't that what we all do?
They think their house is worth more than it is.
Yeah. Why? Because someone told them it was.
And then I say, okay, if you send me more listings on Zillow, I'm gonna fire you.
So, if we did our job ahead of time, then they wouldn't be going there.
Well, they do, they can't stop it.
I know.
They cannot stop it.
Yeah,
And
they don't want to bother you.
And so if we're the ones that are bothering them, it's even better. So all I'm saying is that if I update my database in 2019 now, if I call everybody in my database now, I call them, I say, hey, I'm updating my database. Would it be all right if I stayed in touch with you with a newsletter every single month? Can I call and follow up with you and see if you have any questions about it? Everyone in your database is going to say yes. Can I get your address? Do you own or do you rent? If you own, I'm going to send you a CMA now, and I'm going to refresh it every quarter. If you rent, when is your lease up? Have you ever thought of home ownership? Please don't go from, oh, you rent, why don't you buy? Let's go buy a house. Have you ever thought of home ownership? Why? Because then you get to let them tell you instead of you telling them. How many of us like to be told? Nobody, right? How many of us like to tell? Right? So ask, have you ever thought of home ownership? What are they going to say?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Aren't they going to give you the reasons why they haven't?
Most of them think they can't.
Why? What are the reasons?
Because they have no information.
What are the reasons
They,
for?
they're afraid their credit's too bad, or they're afraid that they don't know it can be fixed. They don't know there's guys like you out there.
They don't think they have enough money. They don't have down
The
payment.
down payment assistance they don't know about.
And yet, all these people rent, which means a first, last, and deposit, right?
Yeah,
Which means they can save the money.
no taxes.
And what if I could just give them down payment assistance and they wouldn't have to come with money? Again, here's one sale. We don't discount or get mad at our loan officers for doing down payment assistance. Right? We want your buyers to buy as many houses as possible, and we want to make it as easy as possible. Right? At the end of the day, when we ask somebody, have you thought of home ownership, we give them the opportunity to give us an answer. And it's usually going to be yes or no, and if it's no, why not? Down payment assistance, or I don't have down payment, my credit sucks, I'm thinking about moving, I'm only here for 2 years, whatever the case might be. Wouldn't it be better to know?
Mm-hmm.
Then we wouldn't have to assume, right? So the people that rent, could we just give them, the same way we do quarterly CMAs, could we give them a quarterly reason why they should be looking at getting into a mortgage? Could we get them to talk to a loan officer and get pre-qualified or go through credit counseling or whatever the case might be? I guarantee you everyone would love that. And if it's discreet and private and they don't have to tell all their friends, wouldn't it be better?
Yeah, I have a question on that. When I try to approach somebody who's renting in this market right now and try to convert them to buying, when they object and say it's a seller's market, which we all know everything's too high, I'm going to wait till the market crashes.
Okay.
What do you say?
I say, well, you know, the awesome thing is that I, just like you, don't look into a crystal ball and I don't know when that's going to happen. What I do know is that still right now, if you talk to a loan officer, money is historically low in terms of what it costs to borrow, right? We're still at a low interest rate. And the minute that the market changes, don't you think the interest rates are going to change? So won't affordability go down the drain then? So why don't we look at right now what you can buy? And if you don't want to buy now, we don't have to buy now. But wouldn't it be a good idea for you to find out what your buying power is? And the best way to do that is to talk to my loan officer.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Right? Again, I'm a big fan of overcoming objections because that just means that I'm getting closer to a yes. Right? So when I do with my Sphere a newsletter and a CMA, if I'm updating my database, what's the other thing? I've got their name, phone number, email, and address. What's another thing that I can use to communicate with them?
Facebook.
Well, we get this from Facebook, but don't we want to know their birthdays? Does anybody in the room wake up on their birthday and not check Facebook to see how many people like them?
They all
Right?
get the reminder.
Here's the thing. There's one day a year for most of us. There's some people that don't like their birthdays, but for most of us, isn't this a day where we want to be celebrated?
Yeah, we all.
Right? So, would it be okay to have a birthday program for your database? Would it be okay to send them a birthday card on their birthday? So, if we did a monthly newsletter, if we did 4 CMAs and we did 1 birthday, right? If we just followed up each one of these with a phone call or a touch, in addition to if I just send you a CMA via the mail, is it as impactful as me calling you and saying, hey, I've got your current market analysis for this quarter done. Would you like me to email it to you and we can set up a time to talk? Or can we meet in person and I buy you a cup of coffee and go over your valuation? Isn't that more impactful? What is our hourly rate when we work? Based on the money you make, divide it by how many hours you worked last year, and you'll come up with your hourly rate.
Mine is 50 cents.
You pay somebody 50 cents an hour to wake up. But the reality is that we can actually come up with that number, right? Based on our what we made last year. And the awesome thing about that is is that when we spend an hour talking to our database about this stuff, our return is incredible. We make more money than doctors, than surgeons, than attorneys. We make a great hourly rate. Are we going out and delivering the value that comes with that great rate? Right? So providing value through a monthly newsletter and then calling them and asking them if they have any questions about real estate. Who's best to answer those questions? You. Right? Where do they go to get that information if it's not you? An untrusted source. Correct? Okay. If you're giving them value of their home, is it accurate? Is it more accurate than if they went online? Okay. And then if you were to honor them on their birthday, would they think highly of you? So right there, right? 12 plus 12, 4 plus 4, and 1 plus 1 is 34 times a year that you will communicate. Can you pick a couple holidays to communicate as well? Some people like holidays, some people don't. Some people like certain things, some people don't. I don't care. I care that you care. So add a couple cards, and all of a sudden, you have literally 3 touches a month. What would happen if every 10 days somebody in your database got a contact from you? What would happen? Would you hit your financial thermometer of 20 transactions in a year at $100,000? At our average price point, is that possible? If we did this, what would happen at the open house if we had our newsletter and CMAs? What would happen at the open house? Could we be talking about our newsletter and getting people to want to get a copy of it? Could we show them how we do CMAs and ask them if they own their home? Could we provide that value? Could we take that CMA and go door knock around the neighborhood and say, hi, I'm Amir, I'm with my home group. Hey, I'm holding an open house right down the street, and I just want to say that I created the CMA. Would you like a copy for you? Would you like one at your house? Could I then actually, before the open house, go home, go into Cloud CMA, Toolkit CMA, and the MLS, I don't care, create all the CMAs for the 20 houses around that open house, door knock, say, hi, I'm Amir, I'm with my home group. Here's the CMA for your home. I know you didn't ask. What would happen?
You might get a call and.
You might piss somebody off like I did.
You totally could piss somebody off. And then what's the...
Yeah, 'cause
The
they're like,
CMA is...
Okay, so then you would say...
Because the values are way too low. I think I had a guy once offer me $100,000 more than the CMA.
Wonderful. Hey, that's great. Have a great life.
Yeah.
What did you hurt? What harm was there done?
Oh, I know.
Other than you met somebody that has no reasonable, no way to actually sell their house.
I dodged the bullet.
Right? Like, that's almost a good thing. That person told you they're crazy. Cool, bye. I'm gonna go to the next house. Right? So, if the number 1 source is Sphere, the number 2 source is open house for buyers, is it safe to say that if we work open houses effectively, we would get sellers out of it? The same way that we build this, would it be important to have a newsletter at the open house?
Yeah.
Does it make sense why it's important to have a Cromford report, a newsletter of some sort? Right? To have the CMA done. Have you done a CMA for your own home? Most people haven't. Right? And then, could you imagine if you did it for everyone else that you care about? Could you sit down with them and ask them if they knew somebody else that here's the challenge, right? What's the worst script that we have? Hey, Maura, it's Amir calling. It's a business call. You got a minute? I just want to know if you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell real estate in the next 30, 60, 90 days. Go. Will you take my call next time I call you?
Yeah.
Right? What if I called and said, hey, Maura, I've got your current market analysis ready. Could I email it to you, or would you like to get together for coffee and go over how I came up with the value of your home? You can yell at me if you want, but I'd love to get together with you and talk to you about it in person. Right? If it's too low, great. Show me what you've done in your house that would make your house worth more than what I know the market will bear for this area. Did you put like gold marble in? I don't know if there's such thing. But like, it would have to be really cool stuff, right? To all of a sudden make it worth a lot more than the rest of the market.
Yeah.
And then who sounds smart?
It's giving them knowledge too about what's realistic.
And if we can do it with our friends, isn't it easier to do it with strangers?
Absolutely.
Right? So outside of the sphere of influence and open house strategy for your buyers and sellers, what else do you guys do? Do you guys farm? Wouldn't it be best to farm the same area that you just circle prospected to door knock for your open house? Couldn't you, in essence, pick as many farms as you wanted based on the open house areas that you do? And is it safe to say that you would be farming for both buyers and sellers? Why would you be farming for buyers in a farm? How many renters are there? Lots. I can tell you on my street that the house across the street was a renter until they just bought. The house down the street was a renter. They just got a new renter. That one went out and bought somewhere else. I know that the next door neighbor is not a renter, but the next door neighbor to that is. I challenge you to go and know just your block. Most of you do. Right? But the question is, have you talked to them about what you can do? About what you offer? Right? If we don't, my biggest thing when I was a realtor was I'd get mad when signs would go up in my neighborhood that weren't mine. But then I realized, oh my God, they don't even know I live here.
I don't even know I exist.
Right? Like I come in and I go out. Like they don't even know who I am. Why would they work with me? Right? How easy would it be for you to go out and meet your neighbors and say, hi, I just wanted to give you a CMA. I live here. I work here. Just in case you need me, I'm here. If I use Mojo with the neighborhood search, I can pull phone numbers and addresses around an area. Will they be 100% accurate, Maura? How accurate are they?
Maybe about 70%.
70%. Holy crud, that's good for me. I'm in. How much does that cost?
Not totally sure how much.
It's like $50 for the neighborhood search and $100 for the line. $100 a month on a circle prospecting to do for every open house. Oh, hold on. Do you guys ever, people tell you about just listed and just sold cards? Right? How does that work? Have you ever got one of those at your house? I have, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this person before in my life.
Yeah.
And I'll never see them again. Why?
They didn't
Why?
reach back out.
Because they just had one listing in my neighborhood, they sold it, they didn't do an open house, they didn't circle prospect, they didn't door knock, they just sent me a flyer, and I won't forget it, I won't remember them again. Right? What if I actually got in the habit of being able to take every listing that sold, and instead of doing a just listed, just sold postcard campaign, I started doing a telephone campaign. Hi, my name is Amir Asami, I'm calling with my home group. Hey, I was just giving you a courtesy call to let you know there's a listing in your neighborhood that just sold. It sold for X. Would you like a CMA for your home? Would you like a free mortgage review from my lending partner? Have you ever thought about what to do with your extra money? Right? Are these questions that we can ask without doing the work? Is it okay to call around every My Home Group listing and say that we sold a house in your neighborhood? Please know that that is one of the best reasons you're at My Home Group, is the power of the number. You guys have a great number of amazing, fantastic agents doing great business. Right? How many listings do you guys have? How many signs are out there? Can you say you're with My Home Group and people know who that is? Right? Could you say, hi, I'm giving you a courtesy call. We just sold a listing in your neighborhood. Does it sound like you sold it or we sold it? Does it matter? Whose listings are all the listings in this brokerage? They're Larry's. Right? They are. They're Larry's. So that means that they're yours. Right? You're at My Home Group. They all work. You all work as one. Right? Could you call all the listings and all the solds? What would happen if you did that? Outside of your sphere of influence, open houses, and farming, what else is there that you can do? Do you guys buy online leads? Good. Don't. I mean that so sincerely. What else do you do? Where else does your business come from?
Networking.
Networking. So networking, is that like a BNI group? Is that networking? What does that mean to you?
Basically, yes.
So for me, I'm not part of a BNI group, right? So what do? I go join chambers of commerce. Why? Because they will take me. Hold on, I know it's funny, but listen. Mesa Chamber of Commerce, the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce, Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce and the Visitor Bureau. Holy crud, they all have business owners that have paid to know you and for you to know them. Where do all these business owners live? Here. Do they all have employees? They all have jobs. Maybe we should join a chamber? Just saying. Right? Hi, chambers, all of you. You should all pay me. No, but really, I would join a chamber of commerce. Right? Do you have kids? Are you part of your PTO? My friend, who's a realtor, joined my school's PTO. Why? Because number one, he's male, and they've never seen that happen. And two, he gets to meet who? All the teachers, all of the administrators, all of the parents. He gets to put water bottles at the events. VIP, why do they put water bottles here? I'm with you. Right? But they put them here so that you remember, right? Isn't that what we're doing? So join something where you get to meet new people. If you don't have kids, don't join the PTO. There's no point. You're like, I've already been here, done that. Yeah, like, why are you here? Because I miss kids. No. Right? Go join a chamber. Go join a nonprofit. Who joins nonprofits?
Other business owners.
Other business owners that want to give back, right? Okay. So, is there a way to add to our group? Is there a way to go meet new people? What are we missing? What's the last source of business that I'm not thinking of? Can I help you? Agent to agent referral. How many offices does my home group have now? A lot. Meaning it's in multiple states now, right? Have you talked to your Washington brethren? I would. Why? Because it sucks up there. You see this? It's like this every day there. Every day. And not one. I mean, I grew up there. I woke up this morning going, my back? Then I walked outside and said, nope, it's warm. We have a California office. You guys are just opening up in Vegas. Have you talked to those agents and said hi? When you have someone moving out of state, where are they moving? Could you call agents in those areas? You can call me. I'll introduce you as many agents as you want. I know them in all states.
Mm-hmm.
But is there agent-to-agent referrals? Are there agents that work the West Valley that don't work the East Valley? Are there agents that work Cave Creek that won't work Casa Grande? Do you? Just wondering. So is there a way to get agent-to-agent referral? Where else could you get agent-to-agent referral? Could you go to NAR? Why would you go to NAR, National Association of Realtors? Why would you go? Knowledge is power. If you go to a NAR event, what are you going to learn? I love going to NAR events. I love going to events in general. Why? Because who else shows up at events? People like me. People that are investing their money in what? Wanting to learn and build relationships with other realtors to gain referrals. I guarantee you, the best thing you can do is go to a Tom Ferry event, I don't care. I'm not saying go buy his coaching. I'm saying go and see other agents and build relationships. Because agent to agent, I guarantee you it is amazing getting a 30% or 25% referral for just giving somebody a name.
Yeah. So a lot of people that aren't actively selling homes either, but they have a whole sphere in their family.
Yeah. Could you find some older, close to retiring realtors and say that you'd love to take their referrals? Just saying. Right? Now, if I were to rank those 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I would literally rank them in that order. I would start with my sphere. I'd second go to open houses. Third, I'd farm around those same open houses. Fourth, I'd go and find some kind of group to be part of. And fifth, I would find some agents to be able to partner with. Would that be accurate for both buyers and sellers? Is there anything I'm missing for buyers and sellers? I'll tell you one thing I'm missing, and that's expireds and for sale by owners. Who likes to call expires and for sale by owners?
I called for sale by owners,
Okay.
but I was calling on the Zillow.
Okay, so you're doing the make me moves or the for sale by owners?
I was doing, not so much to make me moves, I was just going into for sale by owners, and some of them were like a day, so
I love for sale by owners. Here's what I would do for sale by owners all day long, right? Is I would say, hi for sale by owner, love that you're doing my job. How can I help? Can I give you some ideas for open houses? Can I give you a buyer intake sheet? Can I introduce you to my lender? Can I do this? Can I do that? What do you do with the people that don't buy your house? Do you want me to do an open house for you? Would you like me to door knock the neighborhood for you? Can I create a flyer for you? Why would you not do all this?
Why would you, wait, so we would do an open house for somebody that won't list it with us?
Yeah, how many buyers are you gonna get out of it?
You
How many buyers are you gonna get out of it? Do you sit in the open houses to sell the house, or do you sit the open house to get buyers and sellers?
get buyers, and then maybe they'll list with you, right?
Exactly, so you never sit the open house to sell that open house, half the time it's not your listing.
I didn't. know.
So why wouldn't you do it for sale by owners?
So one reason to do it.
To get traffic. So, my neighbor was a for sale by owner, and I went to his house and I said, hey, I live down the street, I'm so glad that you're doing it, let me know, I can help. Every single week I stopped by, asked him how we could help. 7th week, guess what he did? Listed with me. 8th week, what happened? We sold it.
Yeah.
Oh. That's a great idea.
Right? Go, huh?
Item of value.
No, I need to eat, and I don't really have a whole lot of other skills. So, right, there's really, the for sale by owner is gonna be down here. Expires are gonna be down here. Why do you call expires? Because I specialize in working with people that were unable to sell their house the first time. How do I do that? I make sure I give you a CMA and tell you what your home is worth, show you what I'm gonna do, show up and do it, and then if it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. When do I do that? Probably at the end of all of this. Or if I suck at everything else, I go over here. And here's why. These are people that raise their hands every single day. They really want to move. Right? Everybody else, we're waiting for them. These people are like, I'm ready. It's just harder. Why? Because everybody knows that they're ready. So you get everybody that's got their scripts, all their Mike Ferry scripts, close with me, I sell your house faster. All of that happens down here. None of it happens up here. Why? Because all of this takes time and effort. What does this take? Just getting the right one. I mean that, right? It just takes reps here. This isn't reps, this is quality. This is reps. Right? Now, if I did these things, that would be great. The only challenge I have with this is all good, but this doesn't fix me. Right? This is all the stuff that I know. But I have to do it, right? So notice how there's 1 and 2. The third part of my business plan is me. Who do I need to be to accomplish my goals? Right? What do I need to do different in 2019 that I wasn't doing in 2018? One is work off of a written business plan. Right? 2 is work off of a schedule. Before you did this, you worked in the pet
industry.
Did you have a schedule?
Oh, no, I made my own, but
Hold on. You made your own, meaning that you said, this day I work, this day I work, this day I work,
Oh, yeah.
these hours I work, these hours I don't, right? Do we do that in real estate?
yeah.
What? No. What do most people say in real estate? How many days do they work?
7 days a week.
7 days a week? How many hours do they work?
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day,
Yeah.
right? I am your always on realtor. The reality is we're not, right? Because if we're working all the time, we're never working,
Yeah.
right? So if we're working a certain amount of time, isn't that when we work? I guarantee you, 8 o'clock at night, I'm not doing this. I have no pen in my hand. I have none of this. My kids don't want to see this at all. I've tried. They're like, Dad, I'm not interested in real estate. The me is me, right? So, do you work off of a calendar, a schedule, and a block of time to get your most important thing done? Notice how I said the block of time for just one thing? I promise you that one thing is talking to your database, lead generating, calling your farm, door knocking, doing the work that is, hi, I'm a realtor, right? I used to use the word prospecting, but nobody understood what that meant. So now I just call it work. Right? We work. We go out, we build businesses, we build relationships, we talk to people. But if I work off of a schedule, that means I know what days I'm going to do open house, right? Hey, who's got an open house schedule for this weekend? How about next weekend? The weekend after? How about the weekend after that? Right? When are we doing open house? If it's not on the schedule, we're not gonna get it done, right? So I say that, if open house is a strategy of mine, I wanna know how many I'm gonna do. Are you gonna do one a month?
3 a week.
What?
3 a week I try.
3 a week?
Yeah.
3 open houses 1 week?
Yeah. is that-
Every week?
Yeah, well, I have been, but not this weekend I'm taking off.
Okay, great. I want you to door knock at least one day so that those people know that you're coming. I want you to call at least for a couple hours so that they know you're coming. You'll get more out of it,
Okay.
right? But that's the point, is if I know my schedule, I know the things I have to do beforehand. I used to be the guy that would show up on the day of the open house, mow the lawn, bake cookies, and pray that people would show up. That was in Seattle. We had a lot of grass. It rained a lot.
Right.
Right? But I mean, like, I swear to God, I've done that in open house. Brought the lawnmower. Who brings the lawnmower in open house? This guy. Well, I had pride in my product. And I want to make sure it looked good. By the way, the listing next door, they wanted to list with me. Why? Because I'm mowing the lawn,
Free yard.
painting eaves, doing all kinds of crap. Right? But that was because I really didn't know any better. But it still worked. Right? So you have to have a schedule of when you're going to do those open houses. If I'm committing to doing 3 open houses a week, that means I'm going to do 12 open houses every single month. I better be able to go out and source those listings. I better be able to have the CMAs done. I better be able to have the call list ready. Or else I'm really going to go waste my time for 12.
When you say call list, what does that mean?
So Maura, can you explain what circle prospecting around an open house is?
Yeah, so basically you chunk out an area, and is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so you chunk out, let's say you're on a crossroads, what radius?
Let's say you're doing 123 Main Street, right? And you're going to take a half-mile radius or a couple block radius, and you're going to go into Mojo, and you're going to say, give me as much information as you can about all of this. Mojo is a triple line or a single line dialer.
I know.
Yeah, and
Cool.
so you call all of them and invite them to your open house, so a lot of the time our people on our team will call before, so usually 3 days before, invite them to the open house, call the list after who showed up, add them to the database, thank them for coming, also call other neighbors to let them know.
Offer them CMAs, offer them access to your newsletter, all of that stuff.
And then
All this is I'm out shaking trees hoping for something to fall.
Yeah. But
How
it
do
makes
you
more
get people,
sense.
how do you get people to sign and shape?
Okay, so can I talk to you about that?
Yeah.
May I have your name, please?
Well, Mark.
Mark. So Mark, when you come to my open house, I just want everybody, can you guys close your eyes for just a second? Right? When you come to my open house, there's a TV with a listing presentation playing. I'm at the door with my real estate related shirt on, welcoming you to the open house, smiling and saying thank you for coming. Right? Now, in addition to that, when you walk in and there's a TV with a listing presentation, I've got a display out. I've got my list reports with all the information about the area, the school information. I actually also have my website up so I can toggle to that screen and say, hey, how did you find out about the open house? Did you just drive by and just see the signs? Would you like to know about the other open houses? Let me show you how I can show you all the open houses. I can send you a list. I could have a list printed about all the other open houses that I'd done that weekend. The main thing is if I provide value, you will sign in. If I ask you to sign in because the seller required me to get you to sign in, you'll put Mickey Mouse. But if I give you stuff that is relevant to you, if I give you a list of all the open houses for that weekend and say, hey, would you, if you don't find any this weekend, if you give me your email address, I'll send you this list next week. I do that every week. You would give me your information. If I had a CMA that had value of information that you thought was valuable, you would give me your information. If I told you I could tell you the schools and the walk scores and all of that, I'm providing value. I can ask you for information. If you don't give it to me, who loses? Yeah. So I got to be valuable. If I'm just going in and asking for something because I think I deserve it, I get nothing. I used to go with cookies and booties. And I would let myself sell. All right? I would ask you, hey, Mark, are you represented by an agent? No? Is this the only house you looked at? Would you like to look at more? I'm done after this. I can go show you other houses.
And if you can get their name, one piece of information for them, you can always look it up.
So here's the thing, right? If I did all that circle processing and door knocking, wouldn't I know a bunch of people anyway?
Yeah.
And then could I follow up? And then imagine if there was another listing in that neighborhood again, and I did the same thing. Over time, what would I look like?
And you can call and ask for referrals because you've built rapport with people in the neighborhood.
I'm a business owner, not a practitioner. What is the biggest fear that people have in this industry? Is they're going to work with someone that's inexperienced, it's going to ruin their life, all of that. What do you look like when you do all of this?
You look like you know what you're doing.
Okay. So one is that we have to work out a calendar, schedule, and time block. The only thing I want your time block is the time that you spend lead generating. How much time should you spend lead generating? Someone once said you should spend as much time lead generating until you have enough leads. And then you should go do anything else. Right? Because this job is nothing other than that. If we don't have leads, do we have a business? Okay. So I am a big fan of at least 1 hour a day, I'm going to lead gen. And that hour is going to be the first hour of my day. Because if I don't do it then, what's the chances I do it later?
Isn't all of that lead generating?
Oh, no, hold on. I'm talking about if all day I'm doing all of this, nothing gets done. Right? What I mean is every day I want to talk to my sphere of influence. Every week I'm going to do an open house. I'm going to circle prospect on an open house. I'm going to door knock around that open house. If I have an open house and there's 20 houses I'm going to door knock and it takes me 3 minutes at each house, that's an hour. And I host an open house for 4 hours, that's 5 hours. Right? It's not my whole life, it's 5 hours. And then on Monday, if I take that sign-in sheet and I use my 9 to 10 to follow up on that sign-in sheet, am I done with my lead gen? Potentially. Could I call 20 people in my database and make sure that I talk to them as well? How long does that take? Another 3 minutes per call, another hour, we're done. I have 7 hours left in my day, or 6 hours left in my day, or 5 hours left in my day to go do appointments, go to signings, go do inspections, don't care. The main thing is, and I mean this the way it's going to sound, if I can time block the most important, some of the other stuff doesn't matter. If I do that, if I'm there, wouldn't it help if I use scripts? Do you guys know, you guys use scripts? I've been using them all day. They're just really deep now, where they sound like me, but they're not. Right? The main thing is scripts and practice. Mark, you look like you're a very athletic individual. What sport did you play? Football. I kind of knew that. Is it safe to say that you never played without practice?
Yes. It's safe to say, I never played without practice.
Like, why?
You can't play well.
Because you can't play well. What do we do here every day?
Work.
Without what?
Practice.
Practice. And we're wondering why we don't play well. Because every day we say, put me in, coach. Have you warmed up now? Who warms up? It's real estate. I'll warm up while I'm playing. Right?
Yeah.
Would you be as good as you were if you didn't practice? Why don't we practice? Because there isn't a coach. There isn't someone telling us that we have to practice. Hey, show up or you can't play. No, we just say, you shut up. Go ahead and play. Suit up. Go on in. Don't hurt yourself. Right? So, what would happen if we had an accountability partner? Here's the thing. I have to have somebody that I'm accountable to. Right? For the longest time, it was somebody else, and then finally became me. Because, gosh darn it, I'm worth it. Are you? Right? There's a guy named Jim Collins, and he wrote the book Good to Great. The enemy of great is good. So when we are in good, who needs great? Until you've had great. And then you're like, why would you ever want to be good? Right? And the challenge is that we're not scared of our weaknesses, we're scared of our greatness. Because once we show it, we can't put it away. Right? So go be great. I challenge you to go and do all the things that you can and hold yourself accountable. And I say hold yourself accountable. Transparency, to quit smoking, I had to tell everybody that I was a smoker. And hey, by the way, if you ever see me smoking, you know that I failed at quitting. Guess what I did? I told everybody that I wanted to weigh 175 pounds when I weighed 205 pounds. Guess what that did? How much do you think I weigh right now? 176 this morning. Right? Why? Because until I started telling people what I wanted, I wouldn't actually do it. Right? I had to tell my family that I was a smoker so that I could not be a smoker anymore. I had to tell myself that I didn't want to be overweight anymore, that I wanted to be less. And I had to tell everybody else that I had that goal. Right? I used to have a goal of getting to a certain agent count in my brokerage. I had a certain goal of how much money I had to make. I had a certain goal of being on the President's Club. I had a certain goal of those things, right? By a certain time, by doing certain activity and action. We can't have a goal and not do the work. Right? Like, I want to be 175 pounds, but I still want to eat cheeseburgers and ice cream and candy bars and espresso with milk. No, I drink just brown water now. There's no milk in it. There's no chocolate in it. There's no whipped cream. It's just ice, water, and coffee. It's 5 calories. Is it good? No.
No, I was thinking of that and shakes and I love milkshakes. It's just not good.
But gosh darn it, is it good to wear Lululemon pants? Yes! There's a trade-off. Guess who's never going to have a mocha again? The guy in Lululemon pants. I got new suits. Guess who's not eating again? Me. They're barely fit. I don't know why the guy made them so tight.
Oh, that's so true though. Yeah.
All right, so being accountable to somebody is better than not. And if you guys need an accountability partner, I'll be your guy. Right? I'm serious about that. In addition to that, right? Can I ask you guys to do me a favor? Who's read a book lately? What book?
A murder mystery.
Okay, that doesn't help.
It was something like You Are a Badass.
It was something like You're a Badass.
I read it.
It could have been You're kind of a
I
badass.
read it in one day.
In one day.
Yeah, it was
Awesome.
like 250 pages, but I was taking, I was flying,
Okay.
so, yeah,
Um,
it was just a couple days ago.
So, on average, how many books does a millionaire read? 3 a month. 2 a month. Right? I have an Audible account. Why? Because I have 3 kids, a wife, a dog, and ADD. Right? It's not bad enough that I have all these other things. I can't sit still for 2 seconds. So the idea of me sitting still and doing this is impossible. So I enrolled in Audible. And every month for 20 bucks, I get a book. I must have 50 books in there. And I love it. I listen to it at 1.5 speed, so it sounds like a little bit faster than normal, because if you listen to it at normal, it sounds like this. And this is almost as bad as me reading. So, but when you do it on the 1.5, it sounds like this, and you're like, oh my God, this is me. I can totally do this. Oh my God, I'm just going to drive, and they're going to talk to me this way. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? But the best part about that is I average 2 to 3 books a month, where I've got somebody in my ear all the time talking to me about what? Motivation. Now, I did read the 50 Shades of Grey books that way, right? Which is awesome. All I heard is some girl going, murmur, 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 don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
It was awesome, right? And I got home, I'm like, babe, are those the books that you really read? But other than those 3, right, I read a Eat to Live book that was all about nutrition. I am not a vegan, and that book was all about being vegan, but it totally helped me be a lot better. Does that make sense? Like, we don't need to get a lot out of the book, we just need to get a little bit. There's a book called The Traveler's Gift. I read that book a couple of years ago. I listened to it on Audible. But I had a gentleman at an event say, Amir, I know the perfect book for you. And I'm sitting there thinking of him, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, he's going to say The Traveler's Gift. I totally know he's going to say The Traveler's Gift. And he's like, have you ever heard of The Traveler's Gift? Right? I have an Audible account with 50 books in there. I'm happy to share it with you. Right? What I would encourage you to do is look at Audible as a way to become a reader. How much time do we spend in our cars? How much time do you spend in your cars listening to music? Or I had one person that told me they listen to Howard Stern both ways, in and to work. Like, I'm like, seriously, that's all you do? You listen to Howard Stern all the way into work and all the way home? Can you do something, like one of them? Can you do a book? Just one of them. You can listen to Howie on one drive, but on the other way, listen to something good. Right? By doing that, you could read so much. And I guarantee you, reading is only going to make you better. The last thing, and I said it earlier, is you need to go to events. I don't care if they're local. Do you go to the My Home Group event at I saw you, Mark. You were at Magliano's last time, right? Was that valuable?
Was there?
Cool, right? Could you have met some agents there that you didn't know? That might not do business in the same area that you do? right? Are there other events that you could have done around here? Is there the Arizona Association of Realtors, usually done in Prescott? Last year it was done in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Do people come from all over the state? Does Yuma want to sell here? Does Tucson want to sell here? Just saying, right? Going to events gives you the ability to create those relationships and get referrals. And I guarantee you, if we're doing 20 deals a year, referrals are an easy way to hit that number. We're at 3 o'clock. That was an hour. How do we do?
Awesome. I don't know.
Got it done. Right now, by the way, this is at the minimum, the beginning of a business plan. Can you guys agree? There's a lot more that needs to happen here. I would love to sit down with you individually and do the lot more. Because it can't be done in a group. Right? What can be done in a group is this. Right? But then it's sitting down with you individually and saying, based on this, how do we build your business plan? And then how do we help you not only build the business plan, but how do we actually help you implement and do and accomplish the goals that you have in that business plan to make the money that you want? That's being a partner. Right? It's not just doing this. Because I'm guessing there's a YouTube video that does this. I don't know. Now there is.
Yeah.
Right? But it's everything else afterwards. So thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. I know that you guys have busy days, so thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. That was awesome.
My pleasure. I'm going to go drink my 5 calorie. Hold on.